What about it, YouTube? Okay, so this video is about credit. What is credit? You know, there's a lot that has to do with life that is man-made. And those things are fictions. And one of those fictions is money and credit. So you need to understand from the get-go that this is just some made-up bullshit. That it's a complete creation of man. And whether you call a shiny piece of gold money or you call fiat money, it doesn't matter. You're just calling something money. Something that gets something done. Right? So with or without fiat, people are going to figure out how to get stuff done. They're going to trade, they're going to barter, they're going to create their own script. Something is going to happen so that commerce can happen in a community. So no matter how bad it gets, even if the dollar in your pocket goes bye-bye, the world doesn't stop. The earth doesn't stop. As long as there are people on it, there's going to be a replacement. And people bring up the Weimar Republic, but they fail to remember that it wasn't very much after the Weimar Republic that Germany had the greatest military power on earth. So what is this that happens? How did Hitler do that? How did Hitler rise above the ashes of the Weimar Republic like he did? It's really no different than what we do right now today. And that is that we borrow on credit. And credit is just some made-up bullshit. So how do you define credit? Credit is basically risk assessment. So you have a credit score. It's a risk assessment score for lenders to look at before they hand you some fucking money, and before they create out of thin air money. It's your credit that creates the money out of thin air when you go to get a loan. And it's the credit that the government has when it goes to borrow money for whatever. It doesn't matter, military and whatever else. So it's this magic credit. Okay, so my idea of money is that it's a public utility. And so, as a public utility, there's some problems with the current money system, even though those problems are misidentified a lot, and the solutions are typically worse than the ailment. And that's especially true when you're talking about a commodity-based monetary system, or gold, or some other standard of monetary system. That's a ball and chain that inhibits the free-flowing, real-time, upon credit and demand issuance of money as credit, okay, that's going to be paid back, right, that's going to help the place stay open, that the institution that lent it. But the thing is that our dollars that are created from the Federal Reserve have this ledger, this debt ledger, which is unnecessary. But they use that ledger as a dark cloud over the nation, where they talk about our grandkids are going to pay it back, and you know, the national debt, and then you have all kinds of theories that spring out of it about hyperinflation, the rest of it. But this is merely a ledger. There's never going to be a man walking around the corner that says, "Hey, I want my 17 trillion back," because he'd be the only guy on the earth with any money, and everybody else would be flat broke. So you know that this is never going to happen. It's not meant to happen. It's just a ledger so that they can have something there as a ledger to charge interest on. And so we're constantly paying last year's interest this year, and then we're borrowing new for this year. That's how the government works. Now, a lot of that is okay, but a lot of it is bad. And the usury part is bad. Those dollars could be issued upon demand and credit without any usury, without any interest, without any ledger. Okay? And then it's paid back in taxes. That's actually where your taxes go. All of the government spending is done by borrowing. So there is no connection there. No one's getting a free lunch per se because you got taxed. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. And banks don't have to have any credit or reserves. I mean, for your credit. They don't have to have anything but your credit to create money. That's all they need. They do not need to have anything involved. This fractional reserve stuff doesn't make any sense. But with a gold-based system, you would end up having fractional reserve because at some point the economy is going to outpace the amount of gold that's on reserve. Okay, because there's a finite and it's hard to get, and then you'd have to, you know what I mean? It's a ball and chain. It's another cog in the system that doesn't need to be there. It's like less is more. Goodbye. So, my idea is that money is a public utility that we can issue at local branches, and that if we had a local public utility that lent money, like a bank, that created money, then we would have local control over that institution. And as well, I'd like to see the bringing back of a charter system on corporations, and I'm suggesting that we shorten the re-update to 5 years instead of 20 like it used to be, because things happen so much faster now. And every 5 years you would come up before another body, and you'd have to show that you provide a public good. And in the meantime, you're going to have to worry about bad press, about anything that might come up that's going to affect your charter that's going to be up in 5 years. So this could be set up nationwide for all corporations so that they would start behaving. And if we had local control and local issuance through public utility of money, and we could have independent auditors, and we could have elections that came up, say staggered against the charter every 3 years or 4 years, and you'd be able to have checks and balances on this system. And to boot, I would suggest that so that nobody has to worry about feeding themselves, that we go ahead and issue out EBT to everybody. Okay? So there's no one feeling left out. There's no one that can complain that they don't have the same credit or whatever as somebody else. Everyone's given a certain amount of credit that will be okay only for certain items like groceries. Okay? Like EBT works. And that could be $250 a month, and that would cover it. And we can talk about money creation for the demand of health care. And we talk about it for any sustenance, because it all ends up in a zero. So that money can be there simply by its own demand, that it has to be there. But it gets into complex issues when you're talking about housing. I'd almost suggest that we have like youth hostels, and I know that there are these institutions, but you know, maybe the current system isn't that bad. Keep the current system. You know, you pretty much have to choose to be homeless at this point. You have to choose to not go find shelter. So that idea is ridiculous, that there's people out on the street that have nowhere to go, is ridiculous. And there's all kinds of food that goes through the food banks and churches, other organizations, and I'm not saying to replace those either. I'm saying let's find out what works, and let's go ahead and make it so that everybody is taken care of. And by issuing everybody EBT, then everyone's taken care of on that level. So this is the idea, okay? A public utility house, local control that issues credit, that issues money based upon your credit and demand, and you're risk assessed, and then the money is lent out or created, you know. And the same thing would happen for roads or whatever else, right? They can create those jobs that's needed, so those jobs are an instant creation and can instantly be funded. There's nothing holding that back. Alright. Video 1. Bye.